Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There is a massive problem with nursing in Scotland. We're going to take a look at this article because it's showing how bad the problem is and why, so far, the SNP haven't got a solution to it. There are nearly 4,000 unfilled nursing vacancies. They don't really have the resources to hire any more. Another way of attracting them would be to pay nurses more. They don't have the funds for that. And so the work that is done by the current nurses is higher and more intense because they're overworked by the simple dint of not having enough nurses. These nurses then get stressed, go off on the sick, exacerbating the problem further. Now, there is a slight rise in the actual numbers of nurses, but this is more to do with the fact that older nurses are staying on rather than bringing new, younger nurses through. But that won't last forever, and they have got a massive retention problem approaching very quickly and a hiring problem that's here now. How can they square the circle? How can they afford to get more nurses in if they haven't got the money? Who knows? But it's certainly not going to be solved by the SNP, I think. They lack, I think, the political will even to do it. They're far more important fish to fry. Independence seems to have a higher priority than public health. Let's take a look. So, nursing body urges the government to find a way to keep staff in the profession. Getting them in the first place is proving a problem. Retaining them just as hard. And as I say, as they age and age out at the top, they're not being replaced at the same rate. The ones at the top, at the older nurses, are almost through guilt staying on beyond what they should do, because there's just no one to replace them. But generally, the level of stress in the job is also massively increasing. I know this as well. My mother was a nurse for many, many years. And so she knows about the pointy end of nursing. And it is a very, very stressful job. A nursing body has urged the Scottish Government to create a retention strategy to keep people in the profession. And that's very hard, as I say, because of the stress and the health implications for people who are then constantly stressed. It's not just a mental issue, it has a physical bearing as well. Was it mens rea in sano corpore? A healthy mind and a healthy body. Not so good when the mind goes, the body follows. In the year up to December 23, NHS Scotland figures showed the number of nurses rose slightly from 61,500 to 63,600. So a slight increase in whole-time equivalent staff. But the vacancies in the field still remain high, with just shy of 4,000 posts still unfulfilled. A report released on Wednesday by the Royal College of Nursing has called for a plan to keep nurses in the health service. Many leave because of the stress issues. The Scottish Government, this is from Julie Lambeth, said the Scottish Government must develop and implement a fully funded nursing retention strategy that addresses the well-being, workplace culture, development opportunities, flexible working and career progression by April 2025, one of the report's 10 recommendations said. Scotland, it also found, lagged behind the OECD average of 9.2 nurses per thousand of the population. So what's that? 1% basically, 1% of the population, with Scotland being 7.9. 7.9. So that's like 20% under or about 15%. About 15% under what the average for the OECD is. The country was also well behind the figures for Finland, Norway and Ireland, which boasted 18.9, 18.3 and 15.2 respectively. So I mean, Finland, Norway and Ireland, if you're going to be ill, go be ill there. Plenty of nurses. RCN Scotland Board Chairwoman Julie Lambeth said the situation was not sustainable. How can it possibly be sustainable when there's 4,000 vacancies? That's people currently employed have to cover those roles. The stress alone with the workload, She said at no point has the NHS Scotland employed the number of nursing staff it needs to deliver safe care and the registered nurse to resident ratio in many care homes makes safe care impossible. So virtually every care home in Scotland is running at under and below what's called safe levels. So therefore, technically, if they're not running at a safe level, they should shut. This is a health and safety issue. And that's how you get around this. You don't go on an employment issue. You don't go on a numbers issue. You just simply say health and safety, because that is the highest form of law. And if health and safety's come into it, then local authorities are legally liable. And the chief executive of those authorities is personally reliable. You could have a chief executive go up there and could be jailed for this. That's the way to do this. Health and safety law. She said, at the same time with that, she said, at the same time with the squeeze on budgets, we're hearing of reports of nursing roles being axed. So vacancy posts vacant for so long, they've actually axed the role so that they can remove the vacancy. The Scottish Government must get serious about the workforce crisis and the long-term implication for the public's health. The long-term implication is pretty poor. It's no wonder, is it, when you've got all those vacancies. Nursing vacancies are having a damaging impact on our members' ability to provide safe and effective care, and on their own well-being when shift after shift they work extra unpaid hours to cover gaps and go home feeling they're unable to provide the quality of care they want. This is all down to the SNP, totally devolved, not Westminster. The SNP choose to spend their money in other places and not spend it on hiring nurses. That's an SNP decision, not a Westminster decision. Colin Pullman, the director of RCN Scotland, said nurses and nursing support workers across Scotland are underpaid, understaffed, and many are at the breaking point. The current service pressures, staff shortages have resulted in unsafe conditions being normalised. Unsafe for nurses, unsafe for patients, unsafe for ongoing medical care. It has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed now. There's no point delay. Put the money in, pony up the money, hire the nurses, retain the nurses, and make the Scotland's NHS actually work for the people for once. Stop wasting money. Coming up. So there you go. Nothing to do. Pony up, cough up, put the money in, sort it out, stop wasting money elsewhere, and give Scotland and the Scottish people an NHS that is functional and that they deserve. After all, they're paying enough for it. Stop spending the money on the crap that you, the SNP, think is important and which the people of Scotland don't. Prioritise for the people, not the party. Thanks very much for listening. Do please hit that subscribe button. As I say, we're very, very close to the 16,000 now. And I will speak to you later. Bye.